to my channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about ESG risk and climate risk as a career choice. Many people are interested in making a career in ESG risk management, climate risk management. So I'm making a video on this. Well, for people who haven't heard about ESG, I assume most of you have heard about ESG. It's very unlikely that you haven't heard about ESG. It stands for environmental, social, and governance. But loosely speaking, it's about how businesses will suffer because of the climate events, right? There is also a social and governance side to it, but I think people are less worried about that, at least for now. But the environmental part, right? The first word, which is related to climate events, is very concerning for many businesses. So, from a risk management point of view, that's a really a very concerning area. It's a risk in itself, although in many organizations they are trying to sort of combine ESG risk with another form of risk. For example, in the banking world, many banks are combining ESG risk with credit risk, ESG risk with market risk, and so on. But ESG risk can also be considered as a separate form of risk in itself. Okay, and for quite some time it's been a buzzword, but I think it's no longer a buzzword, and we have seen the different climate events and how these events are affecting the profitability of many organizations. Although it's we do not have enough data to prove whether there is a significant impact on the financials of various companies or not, but I think we have already seen a bit of an indication of that, and in the future that's definitely going to happen sooner or later. We do not know whether we'll have a substantial amount of data to prove that, but banks or the lenders or the investors will not wait until that happens, right? You have to take proactive steps, proactive actions, and therefore in all areas of banking and finance and investment and trading, you see ESG being discussed nowadays, right? Because it's affecting all kinds of businesses. Let me tell you, some are more affected than the others. For example, industries such as oil and gas, food and agri are affected more, but there is not even a single sector which is not getting affected or will not get affected because of the ESG risk in the future, right? So from a career point of view, this is one really good upcoming career. I'm not sure if you have seen, but on LinkedIn you can find many jobs on sustainability, but you can find many jobs on ESG risk modeling, quantitative ESG risk modeling, or quant or ESG quants, ESG auditors, and so on, right? There's simply countless jobs advertised on LinkedIn, and you can find opportunity everywhere from US to UK to Europe to Asia and so on, right? It's not just about the banks and insurance firms or the trading firms or the asset management firms. Even the non-banking financial organizations, even the large corporates, like they in any sector, whether it's oil and gas, whether it's food and agri, whether it's manufacturing or commodity trading, anything of that sort, they also hire ESG experts. So this is one area where you will find many opportunities in the future. But ESG risk from a financial point of view, right? If you consider it as a financial risk, is primarily affecting the lenders, the banks, and the investors. Also the insurers. You can also say that insurers are also getting affected because of ESG risk, but that is a well-known phenomenon and well-known topic to the insurance companies. Insurance companies have been doing calamity modeling, catastrophic modeling for decades, right? So it is not new thing for them, but for banks it's definitely a new thing. Okay, so lenders are very concerned about how ESG risk is going to impact them in the future. ESG risk can bring different kinds of risk, right? Direct risk, as in profitability getting affected of the clients or the the customers of the banks. So that's one. Or because of the policy changes, right? Moving towards decarbonization, moving towards policies which are not suitable for some of these companies which are relying on carbon economy, which are relying on fossil fuels and so on. Both ways, these the lender will get impacted, right? Financially, right? May not be an immediate impact, but sooner or later that will be felt in the profit and loss statement, right? Investors, right? As an investor, also you should worry about which businesses are prone to ESG regulations, which businesses are prone to physical calamities, right? I was watching a video of Professor Aswad Damodaran, who is a very is a well-known expert on valuation. He was talking about, well, he's not a fan of ESG risk, and he's termed this as a more of a hype and not any substance. But I think his view has slightly changed. I think he was talking about that it may not be a problem maybe immediately, but maybe 30 years down, then all of a sudden we realize that ESG is a big or a very important thing, right? So preparation is therefore super important for lenders, but also the investors, right? So all the fund management firms, fund managers nowadays have their own ESG metrics before they invest in any company. In fact, if you actually search the different funds on BlackRock or Vanguard, in any of these asset management firms, they have ESG score for each one of these firms as well. I'm not sure that whether the scores are accurate or not, but definitely there is there. So the point I'm trying to say, tell you here is that there is an increased demand for ESG professionals in the industry, right? In the financial service world, insurance, banking, fintechs, asset management firms, trading firms, they're all heavily investing into ESG risk assessment. As a career, you can, as I said, you can look for opportunities in banks. Banks are heavily regulated, so they have no choice but to listen to the regulators, and regulators really want banks to already start thinking and incorporating ESG risk in their risk assessment frameworks. Insurance companies, for a long time, they have been doing it, and they have accelerated that over the last many years. Many large corporates have their ESG risk team as well, sustainability team as well. Investment firms, right? Pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, even VC firms nowadays, they have. I once interviewed at a Swiss VC firm, a venture capital firm, which is focusing only on companies which are scoring really high on ESG, right? So there are also many funds, private equity funds as well, which are heavily into ESG. Okay, so they're also hiring ESG experts, ESG risk experts. Rating agency as well, like Moody's and S&P, they're also hiring people in the ESG space because they want to develop rating models on ESG. So that's something a lucrative option as well. You can also find opportunities beyond these places. Many fintech firms are also, investing on ESG and ESG risk assessment. But I think chunk of the vacancies currently are in the banking space or in the consulting space as well. The big four consultants also hire ESG professionals, so that's also an option. So what qualification do you need in order to work in the ESG risk assessment? Well, in any risk management profile, you need to have a quantitative education, either in finance or economics, environmental science, any science and engineering, computer science, mathematics field will do. However, one other thing I have seen is that for ESG profiles, especially which are not that quantitative, as in these are not profiles which are into modeling, but rather just incorporating ESG in risk assessment, which are more qualitative. The job profile is more qualitative, more expert based work. That kind of profile, people don't worry too much about whether you have a technical degree or not, right? I know people with education is completely unrelated area, even they are working in ESG. So don't worry if you do not have a degree in any one of these areas, right? But if you really want on the quantitative side, I think that's where most of the jobs are, right? You need to then have some experience or training in econometrics, statistical modeling, machine learning, and so on, and have interest in finance. There are some certifications also on ESG. For example, the SCR certification from GARP is a good certification in ESG. You can also find certifications on other places. For example, I think Sustainalytics, which is a sustainability firm, one of the well-known sustainable. I'm not able to pronounce it properly. Anyway, so one of the leading firm in the ESG space is also providing certification. You could explore the certification that if you want to do, then go ahead with that. All right, this is one job profile I would like to share with you. This is one with the Morningstar, a rating agency, a research firm. Morningstar, very well known, right? And they're hiring someone on the ESG research space as a director. Here is the job profile, right? Bachelor degree, they're not too worried about, right, what type of education you have, as long as you have a bachelor degree. It's a very senior profile, so they expect 10 years of experience in risk management, and it's not per se a very technical profile, but you should have experience with research as in just either quantitative research or qualitative research, right? You can find also many other jobs on LinkedIn. If you just go and search ESG or climate risk on LinkedIn, you can find many such opportunities. Anyway, if you have questions, let me know in the comment section, guys.